History is an important part of learning in Ohio. When history is taught, it can be difficult for students to make connections between the past and the present. To help students relate to what they're learning in class, educators can incorporate place-based local history projects into the classroom. Through these projects, students can learn about local connections to the past so they can experience its impact in the present. In this video, we're going to talk about using a place-based local history project in the high school classroom.
In their own local community, they can see the outcome of whatever it is they're studying and learning about.
With high school students, I think the key is to make it real and meaningful. And by that, I mean, I have no problem in the world with simulations and things like that. But, high school students that I worked with were 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. These are adults. And they want to do things that are, I keep using the word meaningful.
Before we get into how LaRue made place-based local history projects real and meaningful for his high school students in Washington Courthouse, Ohio, let's talk about what we mean by place-based learning. According to the Center for Place-Based Learning and Community Engagement, place-based education immerses students in local heritage, cultures, landscapes, opportunities, and experiences, using these as a foundation for the study of language arts, mathematics, social studies, science, and other subjects across the curriculum. It emphasizes learning through participation in service projects for the local school and/or community. Place-based projects can boost student engagement by creating a sense of personal effectiveness as stewards of their local community, forge strong ties between local organizations, their schools, and the community, and help students make tangible contributions to resolving local issues, all while teaching state educational standards.
In social studies, reading is such a huge thing, and you always have some students who would like to be engaged, but maybe they're not great readers, and that becomes a real disconnect. And so, what generally happens, unfortunately, is then they get turned off because they're like, well, this is not really doing it for me. And yet when you get a little more place-based, or you get to more, you can connect with a whole range of students, including those, again, I say, really across the board, in a way that you can't do it in that, what I would call that traditional. Again, you have to do some of the traditional. I'm not saying throw away the textbooks or any of those things. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I do think you have to mix it up a little bit.
LaRue did several different place-based projects with his students over the years. Many included veterans, and one was suggested by a student who saw an opportunity to right a wrong.
It really started with one of our field trips out to the local cemetery, and I was explaining that I was looking at some graves. These are actually Black Civil War veterans, and I was explaining that, the day had, some of them had moved to our community after the war, some of them had been in our community before the war, and there were some holes in the line of graves. And one of my students said, she says, I said, well, there are veterans here who have unmarked graves. And this young lady said, well, don't these men deserve better? And it was a wonderful question, and she was exactly right.
And that led to a place-based project that was real and meaningful, and the students were passionate about it.
We did the research, we ordered the headstones, and my students literally went out and did the installation.
LaRue students even got to write the text for the Ohio historical marker that is now installed at the cemetery. It's impact like this that kept LaRue doing place-based projects every school year.
When we're Memorial Day and we're out in the cemetery, and I'll see a former student, they'll say, hey, you know what, that headstone, I helped with that. And I think it kind of grounds this history base into something, again, local and a place. It's something that they can connect to. And I think they'll probably remember that, like I said, long after they've forgotten most of the names and dates and places, they'll remember that. And that's what I think is so important.
Place-based local history projects teach students about the past while connecting them to their local community. It makes history something they can reach out and touch, and helps them to understand that the people of their community, and every community, had an important role in shaping the present. To learn more about place-based learning, visit promiseofplace.org.